Well, hello there. My name is Scott Kenyon and welcome to my session. We're going to go over a few things on the left-hand side today. Okay, this is a session that the screen goes in and out a lot, so apologies if you're impacted or affected by that. There's a static version of this, just let me know and I can share it. Session today is called What is Deconstructing Feedback? So first of all, I'll introduce myself. My name's Scott Kenyon. I work for a company called First Port, which is one of the UK's largest and leading property management experts. So we deal with tower blocks and big residential areas. We are service managers and master services on it. I'm the QA and release manager there. Been there for about 12 months. And we are currently in the process of adapting and evolving our test and QA sort of strategic approach, which is really nice because we're thinking more tester first and how we can deliver stuff quickly. I also do this sort of thing. So I deliver sessions and training on my passion, which is communication and neurodiversity. As a neurodiversity advocate, I believe that bringing more neurodiverse individuals into the IT test sort of sphere is better for all of us, especially testers. We get a better approach and better understanding. I can be caught on Twitter, Scott K Teaching, and also my website, scottkenyonteaching.com. It's got the rest of my socials on. If you've got any questions about communication or neurodiversity, want to chat more, just reach out. I'm always there to have a conversation. So the overview of today's session is communication. So what do we mean by communication? Communication isn't just about when we talk to each other. Communication is everything. It's a global concept. It's presentations. It's what you're seeing now. It's ways we can all support and deliver information from point A to point B in a quick, speedy manner. Okay? The way we communicate to each other and to different levels within our company is also really important as well. We don't normally think about it that much. We think, oh, we're speaking to this person I work with or that person I work with. I'm speaking to a dev or a tester or a product owner. No, it's all the same. Well, no, not necessarily, because each person's individual craft needs certain different ways of approach. You know, testers might need to know the minute detail. A managing director might need to know what is actually impact and risk. The details are not relevant to them at that moment in time. And also, what's the plan? It's really important that we think about communication as a soft skill we need to improve on. It's important that you enhance your style using certain techniques, such as models, which we'll come on to. And I think it's really important that when we look at communication, we always want to try and hit three things on the head. We want to get engagement from the other party. We want to ensure we have the correct sort of encouragement and empathy. Those things we need to come across, but all in the same breath. And not coming off dry, coming off with passion and love and feelings. That can be hard. So the three things we're going to really take away from today, I hope, at the end of this session, is we're going to talk about feedback models. And I'll describe a little more what they are in a minute. I know sometimes you're like, what's a feedback model? Don't worry, I'll get to it. The deconstruction of those said feedback models and how we can then almost build your own. And impacts and usage. Now, the usage of them is something we can do as a separate activity, which is happening in the break. So come along, we can actually do this live, or with me, or with some of you. We can actually do a live feedback, building it up from its components. And we get lots more out of that sort of activity. So please come along at the end of this session. Models. What are feedback models? In essence, a feedback model is just a heuristic or mnemonic, depending on which one I get right and which one I get wrong. I always get them mixed up. It's just a short sort of acronym, it's a good way of putting it as well, to allow us to think about when we're giving feedback and what the impacts are and what our analysis is. It's just a way of putting a big jar of words into something a little bit more structured so we can then deliver impactful feedback and communication quicker. I'll use feedback and communication as interchangeable words, but they do mean the same thing to me. It's important that we use them as well. If we want to get better and we want to hone our skills, we really have to think about our usage of them, okay, and how we're going to use it and which audience. And the only way you can do that is by stopping, thinking, and understanding. So here's some feedback models. So you've got beef. These all stand for something. I'll show you a couple. So SBI, which is situation, behavior, impact. AID, action, impact, do. EEC, effect, encouragement, change. Cigar. I'm not going to go through that one. Please Google it. And there's loads and loads more. But rather than go through loads and loads and loads more, I'm just going to focus on 2 today. And the 2 I'm going to focus on is AID, action, impact, do, and beef, which I'll get to in a minute. It's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll just get to it. First of all, AID. This is a really good way to give feedback. So it's action, impact, do. So what is the action? What is actually happening? What is physically happening right now? Not what could happen or potential is. No, what is actually happening now? The impact. What impact is it having? Is it a high risk? Is it reputational impact? Is it a security impact? Performance impact? What impact are we having right now? What's on fire, basically? And do. What do we need to do? So that's the action element of this. What do we need to do now? Let's do something. Okay. Aid is very good when something goes wrong. When something's going wrong and it's on fire, as we call in IT a lot, it's on fire, we need to go put the fires out. Aid's a fantastic element to look at. Action, impact, do. For example, action. There's a security vulnerability in one of our website pages. Impact. The web page is open to be manipulated from an unregistered users. Do shut down that page. Do not make it accessible to the web. Simple as that. That is quick, immediate. Do something about it, and it really breaks down really simply. Security vulnerability on one of our pages. It makes us vulnerable. There's a high risk of potential impacts and data being lost, or someone getting in and changing something they shouldn't, some nefarious activity. And let's close that loophole right away. Let's speak to our service desk, speak to our infrastructure team. If worst case scenario, go and unplug the server. It's a do. You actually are doing something. The next one's beef. I like saying that. All the vegans and vegetarians out there, it's nothing to do with actual meat. It's just an acronym I would look at. So beef, the behavior. So I'll split this down a bit slower. It's behavior. So let's describe what's happening. What's the potential things that are going on? Okay, well, can you give me some examples of it? Is there some screenshots? There's some video. So on the website, when I click on this button, it seems to all of a sudden just redirect me to home. Have I got an example of that? Which buttons are you pushing? And then also think about the effect it's having. Think about the actual material effect it's having on individuals, on the customer. Are they going to be angry? Are they not going to use our site now because when they click on 2 things, it just becomes useless. It's all wishy-washy. And future, which is okay. Well, if this is happened because of the coding practices, what can we do to change it? So beef is really good at looking at something that is more feelings and belief, where AID is very much of an impactful, let's go, we need to do something now. Beef is very much of, okay, what behavior are we feeling? Have we got some examples of that? Can you show me some examples? And with example, this is really good for people who are maybe don't take feedback that well, and they almost need a nudge to say, okay, well, here's an example. What sort of effect is it having? So is that having an effect on our security, our performance, on our reputation, on the customer's actually usage, UX, UI of the site? And the future, what we're going to do about it. So it doesn't say do, it's just what we're going to do about the future. It could be actually, when we redo this in a couple of months' time, make sure we look at this element. See the difference between the two? AID is very much of a now, go. It's quick, it's simple, it's do. Beef is more about, okay, let's look at some examples. What sort of effect is it having? Let's look at the future. That's models. But let's deconstruct them into 3 simple elements: behavior, risk, and plan. So when we looked at aid, the action, well, that's the behaviour. When we looked at beef, it's the behaviour. When you look at lots of other models, it's always you describing the behaviour as a large box. And once we've got that behaviour, we need to look at the risk and impacts of that behaviour. Okay, what's the risk? What's the frequency of it happening? What's the impact of it happening? Is it big? Is it small? Is it not? Is it this? Is it customer facing? Is it internal? Is it going to delete all our systems? Is it not? Okay. So you can almost brainstorm around the risks and bullet point them if needs be, or highlight them maybe one or two. The risks is the thing you would change depending on which audience you're delivering to as well. And the plan, what we're going to do about it. This could be a do action. It could be a future action. It could be a monitor action, which is basically do nothing, just watch. There's lots of different things we can look at. But when we look at all the feedback models, when we dissect them and deconstruct them, we put them into three very simple, very easy elements. What is the behavior? Describe it. What is the risk? Categorize it. What is the plan? Sort it. And if you think about these three elements, when we deconstruct any feedback we get, when you are given a very long, silly email you sometimes get from people that has loads of waffling, just break it down to these three elements. Okay, well, what's happening? What's the behavior? Okay, what's my risk? And what's the plan? And by doing this, it means we are very clear, very upfront, and it's simple. Impact. So what do we do now? So I know I've told you a bit about models in the last couple of minutes. I've told you a bit about how we can use them and what's a good time to use them. You know, if you're trying to get something done now, get on aid. If you're trying to think about more bigger impacts or how's the impact going to look at, and, you know, look at beef. There's lots more out there. They're just two I picked. Think about your audience. What do they need to know? Do they need to know everything? Does it need to be a 4-paragraph email? Can it be a 3 bullet point email? Stop. Before you send what you're going to send, stop. And think. That's it. Stop and think and break down those 3 elements, like we said before. The behaviour, the risk, and the plan. 3 bullet points if needs be. And that's it. Really short, really snappy, really quick. And I hope this little bit of information has kind of gave you a little bit more to think about. We talk about communication and feedback. We've got loads of this feedback. There's so many feedback models out there. There's so many different ways of looking at it. You know, I've showed you 2 feedback models. There is lots out there. You know, if you want to know more, get in touch. I can give you more. But it's all dependent on what you're doing on your use case. Okay, do you need to? Is it a very impactful, high risk? You need to get something done now. Aid, I have found, is the best one to do through years and years and years of trying to get really quick impact analysis. Now. Aid works for everybody on the majority of the time, but it does depend. We've deconstructed the feedback into its 3 core elements, like we said before: behavior, the risk, and the plan. And we talked about the impacts of them. So when you can use them, who you can use them to. You know, so if you're speaking to a director, they only need to know aid in theory. What's the action? What's the impact? And what are you doing about it? Or what are we doing about it? Okay. If we talked about project managers or more product owners, we can maybe look at beef. We can kind of show examples. We can show the effects. We can think about the future. Because we're still giving feedback. We need to think about it a different way. Thank you. That's it, really. Really short, really sweet. It's an interactive session in the break. Come along. We're going to use the 3 elements and we're going to build some feedback together based on some real world examples that you give me now. Thank you very much. So find me on LinkedIn, Scott K Teaching. Go to our website, scottkenyateaching.com. And hopefully make this a wonderful session that we can then learn all from. So thank you all for your time. And thank you very much to the Ministry of Testing for giving me a few minutes to kind of talk about something I love. Thank you, everyone.